It's my immense pleasure to welcome the most respected chief guest of today's function, Dr. S. Satya, MBBS, MD, Consultant Pathologist, Arbito Asia Diagnostics, Coimbatore. I welcome you, Madam. I would like to welcome our respected Secretary, Madam, Ms. P. Arundhati, and JS, Madam, Ms. P. Malar Selvi for this program on girls' health and hygiene. I welcome you, Madam. HODs and various department women faculty members. I like to extend my welcome note to the most important and pillars of our nation, none other than our girl students of our institution for this awareness program. Once again, I welcome you all. Now I feel very happy and necessity to introduce the chief guest to you all. Dr. S. Satya completed her higher secondary education in 2018 at Vimal Jodi Convent Matriculation Higher Secondary School, Coimbatore. She has also completed her MBBS in Vinayaka Missions Kribananda Warrior Medical College and Hospitals, Salem, during 2018 to 2014, and MD Pathology in PSG Institute of Medical Sciences and Research, Pelamedu, Coimbatore, during 2016 to 2019. She was a junior medical officer at Komunad Hospital, Coimbatore. At present, she is working as a consultant pathologist in Arbito Asia Diagnostic, Coimbatore. She has undertaken many professional enhancements. She was an observer in adult autopsy in Seth GS Medical College and Kem Hospital, Mumbai from 1st December 2017 to 15 December 2017. And also an observer in neuropathology in National Institute of Mental Health and Neurosciences at Bangalore from 1st February 2018 to 14 February 2018. She also completed various courses like BLS course, online course on hematology and aspiration cytology, and training on ISO. She has published n number of scientific papers in various medical conferences. She is not only a medical practitioner but also a tutor for medical and paramedical students for 5 years. Okay. Now I request our most important chief guest, Madam, to address our girl students. Thank you all.
Okay. A very good morning to one and all. And I'm very glad to address this meeting. And as introduction, I'm Dr. Satya, working as consultant pathologist in Orbitation Diagnostics. And today I'm very immense pleasure and overwhelmed to address this girls gathering and a very important topic, health and hygiene for girls and women. Yes, even, and I appreciate this management of Kamadhenu Arts and Science College to arrange this topic. And even in this pandemic situation, they are taking immense pressure to take up this topic and put a gathering for this. I really appreciate you and thank the management for inviting me as to address this gathering. So I'll be today talking about health and hygiene for women and girls. And yes, it is a very important topic. Even though there are, there are simple diseases occurs in our adult to teenage to adult, which turns into an large problematic these things. So we'll be today seeing those kind of issues. I'm not going in deep about the treatment part, but I'll be explaining how we should aware of the disease and how we should approach the doctor immediately and what are the safety precautions we should be taking. And I'll be giving a special note on menstrual hygiene and other diseases for your awareness. So I'll be starting this thing with the presentation. Yes. Can you all see the screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. So we'll be going into the presentation. So my objectives today are to cover about the diseases affecting women and about menstrual hygiene and to give about awareness of things. So first let's get started. And as you see, health and hygiene is important for all human beings. Not only it's specific for women, even though men, kids, everything is important. But why specifically health and hygiene is important for women? As you all know, evolution takes place in every human being. But an evolution taking place in women plays a very big part even in social and health well-being. From infant to a kid to an adult to a childbearing mother to a middle-aged woman and to an old-age woman, a woman play a very vital role in the social life. So there are many things that are going changes in women, even physically and mentally. So we'll be seeing what are the physical changes and what are the diseases are more common in the teenage to adult part, so that it could be rectified and you get an awareness and you approach the doctor immediately for treatment purpose, so that your later part of your life is not affected. So one of the main and most common cause in this common scenario we are seeing in this age group is sudden obesity after the start of your menses. When a female child attends the menarche, and there are a lot of changes and hormonal-induced changes going place. The most commonest thing every parents undergo is obesity. So what is obesity? And how do you define obesity? Obesity, we all know it is an increase in weight, but what is it? How do you define an obesity? So we'll be calculating the body mass index. It is nothing but your body mass, that is your weight in kgs divided by your height in meters. So there are different stages, like if your score comes between 16 to 18, it is undernourished, and 18 to 24 is normal, and 24 to 30 is overweight, and 30 to 35 is your first degree obesity, 35 to 40 is your second degree, and more than 40 will be your third degree obesity. So obesity will be classified according to your body mass index. So what are the causes of obesity? Yes, we all know diet plays a very important role in obesity, but the most common cause in this group of our age, that is from the teenage to the adulthood, one of the most commonest scenario we are facing is your hypothyroidism. You all know there is a gland, which is a secretory gland known as thyroid, which is very important for our metabolism. But in this age group, you will see many female patients are getting hypothyroidism. How do you detect? What are the symptoms they will be presenting with? The main symptom is you can see in grossly, you can see the swelling of the thyroid gland. The gland will increase in size. Why is it increasing in size? It is trying to meet the body's necessity. So it is getting increased in size. So why is hypothyroidism occurring in this age? It could be any reason. It could be a genetic reason. It could be an acquired reason. So the problem is not getting a disease, but the problem is addressing the disease immediately. So what are the symptoms you will get? So what are the symptoms you are getting? There will be a sudden weight gain, and many female kids will be presenting with irregular periods, and in the later part of the life, they will be presenting with infertility. So whenever you get these changes, a swelling in your neck, or if you get an irregular periods, you're getting more gaps between your periods, you should address the issue, and you should approach a doctor and check your thyroid levels. So as I said, when to approach a doctor, if there is a swelling of neck, if there is increased weight gain, if you are extreme tiredness, you are lacking concentration and things, because this is the age group where we will be more into academic and career objectives. So when there is lack of concentration, and if there is irregular menstrual cycles or even absence of menstrual cycle. So how do you treat? So the main thing is your proper dietary changes. A very good diet can help in out, and a proper intake of iodinized food, because thyroid goiter is more common because of loss of iodine-rich food, and proper follow-up and treatment. As I said, when you get these changes, you should approach a doctor immediately, check your thyroid levels, and if you are lacking of thyroid, if you are going for an hypothyroidism, the clinician will prescribe you with your supplements. So you have to take those supplements and keep it in a proper check. So this is one of the commonest thing we are seeing as a cause of obesity. And the next cause is polycystic ovarian disease, which is more commonly known as PCODs. So it is very common in this age group, and it is an endocrine disorder. There will be increased level of insulin and androgen hormone, and I think it is also an important cause of infertility. So how the patients will apply this? The patients will present with increased weight gain, regular periods, and there will be, as I said, there will be a cause of an infertility. So whenever there is in this age group, whenever you get an irregular periods and abdominal pain, and in PCODs you will get excessive hair growth, which is known as hirsutism, and the other things you will encounter are excessive body hair growth, and there will be ovarian cyst, you will get easy fatigability, there will be acne, more amount of acne in your skin and face. Even though there are many reasons for acne, including heat, it could be nutritional deficiency, but in this age group you should check out that these acnes are not due to PCODs. So as you see in this picture, this is your the right hand side is your uterus, and you can see there are presence of two ovaries. Some of the ovaries shows many cystic filled. You can see some it is increased in size, and there are water filled areas. So this is how grossly a polycystic ovary will be presenting, and this causes all these abnormalities. So whenever you get these symptoms, kindly meet a gynecologist and take a checkout, and it is usually diagnosed by an ultrasound abdomen and pelvis. It can be diagnosed and you can get treatment for it. So anything, you should have an awareness, and there should be an early approach to a doctor, because in the teenage to adult, if you rectify this and you get treated, your later part of life, which is your reproductive period, no, it will be very useful, because in this period, if you are not taking care of it properly, you may get suffered in the later part of life. So only it is very important to check out these symptoms and approach the doctor immediately. So the next most common this thing we are seeing is anemia. So you all know many female kids, students, or even women in the reproductive age, all are suffering from this anemia. There will be decreased in hemoglobin. Either they will be undernourished, or there will be decreased in hemoglobin carrying capacity by our body. So why it should be addressed immediately? We all think every kids know anemia is like a usual thing, but you all understood the seriousness of this disease, because as I said, in the later part, when you are undergoing your reproductive disease, when you are carrying a baby, it all matters, because the body needs some amount of hemoglobin to be produced. So there will be a decrease in amounts. So I'll be telling what are the supplements, what are the common types of anemia we are facing. The more common types of anemia are iron deficiency anemia, vitamin B12 deficiency anemia, folate deficiency, and deficiency anemia due to blood loss. You all know female kids, no? You will be having menstruating every month, and you will be losing some amount of blood. So you should be regaining those amount of this thing, iron content, from your dietary approach. So even if you are lacking iron this thing, then you have to meet a doctor, take a test. Just a simple test of complete blood count will help you to know about your hemoglobin status, and you can take iron-rich food and medical supplements. So what are the commonest symptoms of anemia? You will be easy fatigability, headache, you will be looking very pale, it is known as pallor, and there will be palpitations. You can't even walk over the steps. You can't walk for a few long periods. You will have chest palpitations. You have leg cramps. That is mainly due in rest. No, you will be having leg cramps, and you won't be getting proper sleep. So these are the commonest symptoms of anemia, which should be addressed immediately. So as you all know, we have food-rich products for treating anemia, but those food-rich products are not able to supply whenever the anemia gets worsened. If you are diagnosed with anemia, your dietary supplements are necessary, but it should be taken in account with your iron supplements also. So you should not think that if you are anemic, you can treat only with the dietary. Because your dietary, this thing is not adequate, your body is lacking hemoglobin. So you should get treated. You should take the iron supplements and the syrups which are given by the clinician for a period and get treated. The next most common thing encountering in this age group of female patients is the urinary tract infection. So what are the causes of urinary tract infection? In these days, we are not taking adequate water because we may be in work, we are busy. Even when we are in home, we are not taking adequate amount of water, adequate amount of fluids, which causes the urinary tract infection. So how does urinary tract infection present it as? There will be severe lower abdominal pain, there will be fever with chills, and the urine color will be very dark. Even some, in a worst scenario, there will be blood in urine. There will be burning sensation while you passing urine, and you will have an urgent to pass frequent urine. So these are the symptoms of urinary tract infection. And the most commonest question we have encountered is, can we use solutions for vaginal wash? You know, in this era, many cosmetic products are there. And many people are using cosmetic products, like many washes are there, we wash or something are there, and they are using it. The question is, can we use it? Actually, our body is built up in such a manner that there are normal commensals will be present in our genitalia, that the lactobacilli, which is a normal commensal, which fights against the bacteria, and it will help us to fight, and it will prevent from the urinary tract infections. So applying soap, artificial products and all, what causes? It causes irritation, inflammation and burning sensation. Even it will lead to rashes, everything. Only the external areas you can use soaps and solution, and not in the interior areas. There may be many ads, there may be many things you will be seeing in TVs and social medias, but make sure cleaning up with the normal water is more than enough, and cleaning up the external surface with soap is enough. Not using in internal areas are very important, because we are seeing many patients with rashes, inflammation and other things due to the cosmetic products. And proper hygiene, removing of excess hair, and another main thing is using of unwanted creams over the genital areas, because it is very soft and friable. You should not use hair creams over the genital areas, and normal washing it and clean toileting habits should be included. Coming to the main part, the menstrual hygiene. 52% of women worldwide are in reproductive age, and most of them are menstruating monthly. Still, there are impaired menstruation hygiene in many parts of the world. Maybe we are in among the cities, we can see it can be improved or not, but even in some villages or in the rural areas, there are conditions where the people are not able to talk about menstrual this thing very frequently, even to their parents, and those difficulties are not addressed at the earliest to the doctors, and there are improper hygiene, improper facilities like lack of toileting facilities, and unable to get sanitary napkins. Everything are there in the rural areas. So we should be aware, and we should be approaching the doctors immediately, and we should talk to our parents. That is very important, so that they guide us to come to the doctors. And there are many beliefs, myths and taboos in this thing. Even in this era, we can see during menstrual cycle, they should not bath, if they should not touch a cow, look in a mirror, touch in a plant, and banishment menstrual hugs, because they given a rest period from the normal intensity of daily course. So we all should remember, menstruation is a pattern of an lifestyle of a woman, and there is nothing to do with any of these myths and this thing. So we should educate the parents about the reproductive health and sex-related issues for an often a no-go area, and understanding on these issues. And the inappropriate hygiene practices should be removed. Mainly during menstrual hygiene, you should change pads every 6 to 7 hours. If you are over bleeding, you should change pads 4 to 6 hours, because if you are using overused pads, it may cause infection, which can cause to pelvic inflammatory diseases, and changing of pads infrequently, which may cause irritation and rashes. So this and all should be avoided during menstruation. A clean sanitizing napkin should be used, and it should be replaced 6 to 7 hours, and a proper cleaning should be done especially during menstruation. And there are many guidelines from the government are given, like Swachh Bharat Mission for females and girls in rural areas. So those managements are access to knowledge and information, access to safe menstrual absorbance, water sanitization and hygiene infrastructure, access to safe disposal of menstrual absorbance. Not only we should use napkins and sanitizer, but you should also discard it in a proper way, because you all know it is a biomedical waste, like because it contains the blood and this thing. You should not dispose it in like as it is. You should properly wrap it up, and if you are in city, you can dispose it in the color bins, so that the corporation takes it off and they bury it. If you are in rural areas, you also should not put it in the open grounds and all. So from the starting and to this thing, we should be using it carefully, and we should not cause any environmental this thing also. So I'll be discussing about 3 important in menstrual cycle the girls are undergoing. One of the main things is known as menorrhagia, that is increased blood flow. Menstruation will differ from each people and each person. So many female kids may have heavy bleeding, this thing which is known as menorrhagia, which is an important cause for anemia. So if you are undergoing, how do you detect it? If you have an increased flow, if you are changing 4 to 6 pads per day, and that if your cycle is increased, the normal cycle will be 5 days in 28 days. So if it is more than 5 days, if you are bleeding for 15 days, 20 days, you should immediately come and address the issue to a gynecologist, because it eventually lead to anemia, and it will make you fall sick. So you should not keep it to yourself. You talk to the doctor and get a treatment, and you should know what is the cause for menorrhagia. And the next thing is dysmenorrhea, that is painful menstruation. You can see some people, if they get the menstruation, they'll have unbearable pain, low back pain, lower abdominal pain, and leg cramps. Usually every woman undergo this, but in dysmenorrhea, they have an immense pain that they cannot bear. So these kind of issues also should be addressed to the doctor, and they should get treated. They should know the cause of the pain, and if they are getting the pain, what are the things they have to do, any medications to take, everything should be addressed immediately. And irregular periods or delayed cycle, this is more commonly facing in this era, because as I said, there is hypothyroidism, there is PCODs, which all affect this menstrual this thing, and there will be irregular periods and there will be delayed cycle. So in a month, that is a 28-day cycle, and you will get in 5 days of menstruation. But many people are not getting. It depends upon their body, or it depends upon the diseases. Many people may be diagnosed with hypothyroidism, which indirectly affecting their menstrual cycles. And patients with PCODs also will get irregular and delayed cycles. So everything should be addressed immediately. And what are the main causes? There will be hormonal fluctuation. The main cause of all these things are your hormonal fluctuation. And indirectly, as I said, obesity, polycystic ovarian disease, and fibroid uterus is nothing but it is a benign tumor which grows inside your uterine cavity and which causes heavy bleeding. So this is not all small issues, but it is not addressed immediately. It is causing many issues. So as far of now, we have seen the commonest thing from obesity, from hypothyroidism, from PCOD, from your menstrual hygiene. We have seen the commonest scenario in these things. The other things what are common, what are rare, I'm not saying it is common, but it occurs in a family or in a group. So you should know the commonest malignancies, that is cancers occurring in female patients, and what is the precautions we are going to take place. You may in your family or in your friend circle, you can hear that your mother's mother is having breast carcinoma, your any relative is having cervical carcinoma, your any relative may have ovarian carcinoma. By somehow you will undergo these things. Because it is not rare, but it should be known. It should be, the awareness should be there. So when do you address immediately? So as I said, the three most commonest malignancies I'm here going to discuss about your breast carcinomas, your cervical carcinoma, and your ovarian carcinoma. The breast carcinoma is the most commonest. The reasons may be anything. It could be an hereditary or genetic, but the earlier approach and earlier treatment matters. I'm not saying a person should not get a disease. Definitely we'll get a disease one or the other go. It could be anything. But the thing is, earlier approach and earlier treatment, and apart from negligence, should be given immediately so that the treatment goes successful. And this is released by the WHO. This is self-evaluation. How do you self-evaluate yourself periodically to identify the breast carcinoma? You should palpate for your lump, any swelling or any cyst or anything is there. You should palpate by yourself periodically. You should not deny it or you not ignore it, so that if you find, and because many malignancies will present as a painless lump. If pain is there, you will definitely come to a doctor. But if there is no pain, you leave for some long time because it is not affecting. But that is not the scenario. You have to address the issue immediately if you palpate or if you found a painless swelling anywhere, not in the breast, anywhere. But since breast carcinomas are more common and it is negliged, the patients are not coming immediately, it should be taken under care. So you should have a routine examination by yourself. If you are feeling anything abnormal, kindly check with a gynecologist. And the second most is your cervical carcinoma. Even though the age group is more, nowadays the screening test, which is known as Pap smear test, should be done when the woman attains the age of 30 years. These are the screening tests. You may wonder why I am addressing these things to this age group, because you can go and give an awareness to your mother, your relatives and all, because this awareness is the main thing which is lacking. So every individual who attains 30-35 years should get a screening test, which is a simple test known as Pap smear test, which is able to identify the cervical carcinoma, even though many patients are not getting any symptoms. So if you do a screening test, you will come to early detection of the disease. The other thing is your ovarian carcinoma. Again, it compromises of family history. They'll be presenting with swelling of abdomen, like some low back pain, some swelling. There will be increase in abdominal size. They should not think of putting weight. They should think of, other than that, what is the cause, and they should immediately approach the doctor. And these are the things I want to insist. And the most normal thing in day-to-day life is your nutrition. This is the food pyramid. Always a balanced diet should be included, which contains of whole grains, vegetables, fruits, milks, and everything in a small quantity, which is known as balanced diet. Women. And there should be proper hydration too. Mainly hydration should be proper to avoid many infections like urinary tract infection, everything. And avoid junk foods or processed food, mainly PCOD and thyroid people taking this will put on overweight, and they will not be able to lose the weight So even though they keep on dieting, they will not be able to lose the weight in the later part of their life. So these are the tips for a healthy life. Regularly, it should not be a rigorous exercise or a gym exercise, just a walk, 30 days walk, 30 minutes walk regularly. Eat healthy foods, mainly balance the diet and reduce stress. I know this age group, we will be having many things for our career, our academic purposes, anything, nothing is not more than our health. So we should take care of our health so that it should not interfere in our normal day-to-day life, and drink plenty of water. And yes, this is apart from the topic, but this is the common scenario we are undergoing now. This is a pandemic situation for COVID-19. Please wash your hands frequently, maintain hand hygiene, because we healthcare workers are fighting daily, and we are seeing many people fighting for their life in this pandemic, and we are seeing many people are losing their life. Small things like washing your hands, wearing masks, and keeping distance, social distance, and staying in home will help from this pandemic situation. So kindly stay safe in your home. Kindly do hand wash frequently if you're going outside and coming. Maintain social distance if you're going outside. Avoid gatherings and everything. This is in general instruction, because we are in a pandemic situation. And the very important thing is, now the COVID vaccines are approachable. Kindly get vaccinated. I know many rumors, many things are going around, but kindly get vaccinated yourself, which helps you and your family from this disease. So kindly get vaccinated. So by this, I'll be ending my session, and thank you very much for hearing silently and letting me to address the normal issues in the health and hygiene of our girls. Thank you very much.